Efendimizin Hazretlerinin aziz pak münevver mutahhar ruh şeriflerine salavat-ı şerife getirenlerin ahir ve akıbetleri hayrola. Âli ezvâc-ı tahirat-ı evlâd-ı Resulü ashab-ı güzin efendilerimizin sair-i enbiya azam ve Resul-i kiram haziratın ervah şeriflerine Pirimiz Bilal-i Habeşi radıyallahu anh efendimizin mihmandar Resul-i Kibriya Eyyub Sultan Halid bin Zeyd ve Eyyub el-Ansari radıyallahu anh Şah Murşidan Şah Hacı Muhammed Bahaddin Akşebendi el-Bukhari Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi Mevlana Ziyaddin Hard el-Baghdadi Sahibu zaman Kıbletül İslam Şeyh Mevlana Muhammed Nazım Adel el-Hakkani Sahibu Seyf Şeyh Abdülkerim el-Kıbrisi el-Rabbani Kaddesallahu esarrum hazır arvahi için Hadimul Harameyn-i Şerifen Yavuz Sultan Selim Han Ebel Fatih vel Magazi Fatih Sultan Mehmet Han ve Serdar-ı Hakan Sultan Abdülhamid Han cennet mekan Firdevs-i Aşiyan ve Hazratın ve avni enayetine ala husus bu caminin bayinesi ve bugüne kadar içerisinden gelmiş geçmiş İmam Muazzin Kayyim cemaatin ve kafe ehli eman ruhi için Allah rızası için El Fatiha. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله سيدنا مولانا محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين نحمد الله تعالى ونستغفر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأزواجه وأصحابه التابعين خلفاء الراشدين المهديين من بعده وزعيمة على تحقيق وخصوصا منهم على العميد خلفاء الرسول على تحقيق أمراء المؤمنين حضرة أبو بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعلى بقية الصحابة التابعين رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين يا أيها المؤمنون الحاضرون يذكر الله تعالى إن الله حمل الذين تقوى الذين هم محسنون الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praises are due to Allah, Lord of the universes. All praises are due to Allah, who is the first, the last, the manifest, the hidden, the one who has might and power over all things. May peace and blessings be upon the Sultan of the Prophets, the Imam of the Messengers, the intercessor for the sinners, the master of the first and the last, the grandfather of Hassan and Hussein, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. May peace and blessings be upon him and upon his noble family and upon his blessed companions, especially upon the four Khulafa Rashidin, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar al-Faruq, Hazrat Osman al-Ghani, and Hazrat Ali al-Murtaza, and all those who follow them until the last day. May peace and blessings be upon the Khajagan of the noble way, the inheritors of the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. May peace and blessings be upon all the rightly guided sultans, especially the Ottoman sultans who preserved the maqam of the Khilafat and kept the ummah under the shade of Allah. May Allah love those who love them. May Allah curse those who hate them. And may Allah hasten their return. Ameen. Ya ayyuhal mu'minun, O believers, Islam is for intelligent people, people who use their minds, their intelligence, their aql, people who make tafakkur, thinking. Islam is not for those square-head ones, for those foolish ones, for those stupid ones. Imam al-Ghazali, Hujjatul Islam, the proof of Islam, is saying, the person whose weakness is stupidity cannot be cured. As Hazrat Isa alayhi salam said, indeed, I did not fail to bring the dead to life, but I failed in curing the stupid. Sahib Sahib is explaining intelligence and stupidity to us in his sohbat, saying, an intelligent man must run to make his Lord to be happy with him. In this short life that Allah has given us, we must run to make him happy, not to make our ego happy. Our ego is never going to be happy until the end, and when it is going to leave you, you will ask, where are you going? It will say, I'll tell you. I finished my job, and you're going to the dumpster now. You are finished. That was my job, to finish you up. Don't get fooled by that. We should not get fooled by that, because we are carrying this life with us, and we know the tricks and the traps of this ego and what it is trying to do to us. If you still get fooled, then what do you call those? Ahmak. What is it in English? Say whatever you want. It's ahmak, fool, idiot, stupid, lost. Be intelligent. Intelligence is not how much you read and how much you write. Intelligence is not how much computer you know. Intelligence is not how much you know how to count money. Everybody can do that. If you train them, they can do that. Intelligent man is that one who asks and who questions, saying, who am I? What am I? What am I doing and where am I going? That one is intelligent. Asking questions. If you sit and ask that question sincerely, then you are going to need to find an answer for that. And the words of our Shaykh, they speak the truth. Haq words, straight words, alive words. Those are the words of our Shaykh. Intelligent person is looking at everything and asking questions to understand who he is, what is inside him, and how to complete his work inside this world. Intelligent man is always investigating, questioning. Intelligent man is always looking to learn. That is the kind of learning that Holy Prophet ﷺ is talking about when he says, seeking knowledge is obligation upon every Muslim. In one of the ways that people learn about themselves and learn about the world around them and sharpen their intelligence, it is through studying and understanding our history. Our Grand Shaykh and our Shaykh Effendi put a huge emphasis on learning history and understanding it. Because by looking at events that happen, by analyzing them, and by putting ourselves inside of them, we can answer those questions that Shaykh Effendi is saying of who am I, what am I doing, and where I am going. Shaykh Effendi is talking about what happens when a person stops studying history, when he stops asking questions, saying, don't you read? Don't you know the history of the awliya Allah? Maybe you don't because you don't read anymore too, because you're knowing so much. The one biggest mistake that the Muslim people today have is that they don't know the history. You don't read and you don't come to ask questions, not worldly, not spiritually, and not heavenly. It means no inspiration is coming to you at all. It's coming, but you're completely blocked. You're not seeing anything. You're blind and deaf, and if you're blind in dunya, then you're going to be blind in akhirat. Nothing is coming to you. Otherwise, you're going to come to ask the questions. I'm waiting because there are steps that you're going up, and you reach the third step. That one who went up and knows and down knows that there is a difficulty on the third step. So we must look at and know our history. We just passed through one of the most important and saddest events that happened in the history of Islam. Do you know that? Because nobody is asking. The commemoration of the shahadat of Hazrat Osman al-Ghani, the companion, the son-in-law of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the third of the Khulafai Rashidin, the one that Allah and His Prophet praised. Before we talk about the martyrdom of Hazrat Osman, we must remind about the greatness of Hazrat Osman. Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Abu Bakr and Umar are like the eyes of my head. Osman ibn Affan is like the tongue in my mouth. Ali ibn Abu Talib is the soul in my body. Even before Islam, Hazrat Osman was known as one of the people with the best ahlak. Mothers used to sing lullabies to their babies and say, "Oh my darling, may I love you like the Quraysh love Osman." And Hazrat Abu Bakr invited Hazrat Osman to Islam, and he accepted right away. Even when his uncle tied him up and tried to bring him back to kufr. He's one of the Sahabis who memorized the entire Quran Kareem. Hazrat Osman was the most generous to the Muslims, that when there was no water in Medina, he was the one that bought an entire well so that the Muslims would have water to drink. Whenever there was a need for the Muslims, Hazrat Osman was always there to fulfill it. And Holy Prophet ﷺ said so many times, Ya Allah, I'm happy with Osman. You be happy with him too. Holy Prophet ﷺ loved Hazrat Osman so much that he gave his daughter Hazrat Ruqyah to him in marriage. And when she passed away, the Prophet ﷺ gave his other daughter, Hazrat Kulsum, to him in marriage. And when she passed away, Holy Prophet said, if I had 40 daughters, I would give them all in marriage to Osman. He is that person that Holy Prophet said about him, every prophet will have a friend in paradise, and my friend there will be Osman ibn Affan. This is the greatness of Hazrat Osman. Yet he was brutally assassinated in his own home by people who called themselves Muslims. How is that? What could lead to people entering the home of this great Sahabi who was their Khalifa, whose beard was white, who was reading the Quran, and pull the sword against him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Holy Prophet ﷺ give the answer. Allah is saying in the Quran Kareem, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, fitna is worse than killing. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. And Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, stay away from fitna. Starting a fitna with words is the same as starting it with a sword. Sadaqallah Rasul. So what was happening in the time of Hazrat Osman? Confusion, fitna, backbiting, slandering, gossip, confusion. How did it start? Just talk. People said, look at Osman, he is not doing things properly. He is putting his family members as governors and in important positions, and they are being tyrants, and he is not saying anything. He's choosing favorites from the ones that he loves and letting them to have the dunya, and he's not helping us anymore. And what did those whispers of fitna turn into? They turn into a monster. They turn into a monster that came all the way to Medina. They turn into a monster that came all the way inside the Masjid al-Nabawi. They turn into a monster that people could dare to start throwing rocks at Hazrat Osman when he was giving khutbah from the maqam of the Prophet inside the Rawza Sharif. That one of them started yelling at him and said, be careful, you foolish old man. Step down or we will choke you to death. Another man came and he took Hazrat Osman's cane from his hands and he broke it. And they threw rocks at Hazrat Osman until he passed out. A person is going to ask, how is this possible? Because when fitna starts, Shaitan can smell it. And then he comes to make it from just whispers into something that can bring down empires. When people started openly criticizing Hazrat Osman and saying he was a bad Khalifa, and saying that they knew better than him, then the people who wanted to bring Islam down saw their opportunity and came rushing to Medina to try to finish Islam. They gathered their allies in Egypt, in Kufa, in Basra, and the fitna makers from all these areas came together, pretending to go to Hajj. And they came, and they occupied the city of Medina. Understand that the fitna that martyred Hazrat Osman, that fitna grew and it martyred Hazrat Ali. And it grew and it martyred Hazrat Hassan and Hazrat Hussein. It is not a small thing, it is a huge thing. But it started from just words, from just talking. It is such a huge fitna that even the son of one of the biggest Sahabis was inside Hazrat Osman's room when the rebels entered to kill him. And that person who had gotten fooled by the fitna, he started pulling Hazrat Osman's beard. And Hazrat Osman said to him, "Oh son, leave my beard alone. Your father used to honor this beard. He wouldn't have liked to see you there." And that person's hand fell down and he got out of that room before they committed the huge sin of killing the Khalifa. The martyrdom of Hazrat Osman was a wall. It was the first time that those who said Shahadat and killed another Muslim. And from that time, the killing of Muslims, it has not stopped. Who is saying this? Hazrat Hassan ibn Ali, radiallahu anh, who was defending the house of Hazrat Osman until Hazrat Osman told him to pull back. He saw a dream after the assassination of Hazrat Osman. He is saying, "I saw my grandfather, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. He was standing next to the throne of Allah and he looked worried. And this was the first time I saw him looking worried in a dream. And then Hazrat Abu Bakr came behind Rasulullah and put his hand on his shoulder. Then Hazrat Umar came behind them and put his hand on the shoulder of Hazrat Abu Bakr. And after this, Hazrat Osman came and his face was full of blood and his head was in his hands. And he said, "Ya Rasulullah, ask the people, for what sin did they slaughter me like a cow?" And when Hazrat Osman said this, the throne of Allah began to shake, and 2 streams of blood came down from the throne of Allah. And a voice came out from the unseen and declared, "Until today, no believer has taken the life of another believer. From today until Judgment Day, believers will continue to take the lives of other believers." Understand one more time this crime that made the throne of Allah shake. It started with people who were criticizing Hazrat Osman with their words. Just words. Just talk. Just judgment, criticism. But it opened the door to a fitna that will not stop until Judgment Day. When Hazrat Osman's blessed body left his house, his daughter, one of his daughters, she started speaking words of haqq, and she said, with bravery, speaking to the rebels, "O the murderers of Osman, how cruel and unjust you have been. You are making a big deal out of small issues, and you raised ridiculous demands. My father followed those who came before him. You didn't say anything in Hazrat Umar's time because he was harsh, and you were afraid of him. My father was very nice. and you took undue advantage of his kindness, and instead of appreciating his kindness, you started speaking against him. That was ingratitude of the worst type. Ingratitude is a great crime before man and Allah. Ungrateful persons have never been successful. Know that history will never forgive you for your betrayal and ingratitude. Also know that in the world to come, severe punishment await those who are unjust. Hell will be their resting place. You may remember that the Khilafat of Hazrat Umar was very hard on you. You lived in an environment of awe and fear. He put limits on your movements and your freedom. You submitted to him without raising any protest. You could not dare speak before him. You could not dare to criticize him. He was the Khalifa who always carried a whip in his hand. He treated you as dumb cattle, and you submitted to this fate. My father treated you as men. He allowed you full freedom. He removed all the restrictions on your movements. He increased your allowance and looked after your welfare in every way. You have paid him back by murdering him. This is very strange. You have gone against Islam. You have repaid good with evil. Now the blessings of Allah have removed from you. For an intelligent person, history teaches us lessons until Judgment Day. For a person who is examining himself and checking himself and looking for the evil inside himself, history gives us all the lessons. Look at the words of that daughter of Hazrat Osman. For a believer, for a person with taqwa, they are going to look at those words and say, do I have some behavior inside myself like the rebels in the time of Hazrat Osman? Don't say, I'm so good one, I'm a Muslim, I'm a mu'min, I'm a murid, I'm a Sufi, I'm safe. That is not the teaching of any awliya. And it is definitely not the teachings of our Shaykh. Our Shaykh is telling us, know that the ego inside you is worse than Firaun, worse than Namrud, worse than Yazid. But during Shaykh and his time, we have seen so many betray him. So many made fitna. And so many had cursed him. And so many, if he was given a chance, they would have killed him. And we are seeing that happening in our days too. Those that our Shaykh had raised high had only fallen because of their ego, repeating the same mistakes. But we must look. If those ones had looked inside of themselves, and if they have doubted their ego the same way that they doubt the Shaykh, some guidance will reach to them. If only they were saying to their ego inside that, oh my ego, you are worse than Firaun, worse than Namrud, worse than Yazid, they would have found safety. Shaykh Effendi is saying, if you do not see your ego worse than Abu Jahil's ego, then you are in bigger trouble than Abu Jahil. If you cannot say, if I was at the time of the Holy Prophet and if Allah did not hold me, I would become worse than Abu Jahil to the Prophet, then you still have pride in your heart, because the characteristics of the ego are all the same on everyone. If Allah is not holding it, if Allah's favor has not reached to you this time or that time, you are Abu Jahil. We are Abu Jahils. So the only way to bring it down is to step on the ego. Stepping on the ego is not just to say, I am stepping on my ego. It has to be in action. If you want to step in your ego, then sit in the presence of someone and say, I am submitting myself and my will to you as you like. That is a step that slowly brings you to the highest stations, because now you are giving yourself up to some other human like you. You are giving control to that one and you are promising to do what that one says. That is the first step of stepping on the ego. The ego that is inside of us. It is always capable of rebelling and doing evil to the one that we are claiming to love today. The only way to stop it is to constantly be questioning ourselves and to be searching for the evil inside ourselves, to look at the doubt and the questions and to understand and to consult and to ask our guide for help in stepping on that evil, stepping on our ego. But if you open the door to whispering and if you open the door to fitna, know that what you are doing is worse than killing and that you are opening the sword of rebellion. The two paths, they're in front of us. We have a choice. We are approaching Ashura. The Yazidi way is in front of us and the Husseini way is in front of us. As Shaykh Effendi is saying, don't just say with a word, I am a Husseini, and sit down and do nothing. Run and fight. Fight in the way of Allah against your ego. If you can fight the evil inside yourself, they will give you power to fight the big evil. But nobody who is easy on their ego can be part of the work of Akhir Zaman. Shaykh Effendi is saying, Shaitan is playing. Shaitan just put the hook. You know when the fish gets hooked, and if it's a strong one, yes, so many people. You are a strong one. That's why you came around me, meaning your ego is very strong. But you need somebody to work on it properly. Every sheikh is not going to work like this with you. They don't even have the permission. Sometimes you're asking, why are you doing this? So many other sheikhs, they are not even doing this. So you are right. They don't have the permission. Mahdi is saying, I don't want weak ones around me. Those ones around me, they have to be strong ones. Don't fall for your ego. You're going to lose dunya and akhirat. You're going to cry in akhirat. If you reach to the paradise, it doesn't matter. You're going to cry in akhirat again. Because you're going to see, we have put you in this book, in this category. And because of the egoistic action, because of your own ego, we change it. Just like so many people that they came back and forth to the Prophet ﷺ. They accepted Islam. They go to Abu Jahl who's saying something and they changed. Don't think that those ones who came back and forth, they are in the same level with the ones that they came and they stay. They cannot be. Don't think that they are going to be in the same category as Hazrati Hamza, Hazrati Umar or Hazrati Ali. Don't even talk about Hazrati Abu Bakr. What made them to reach to that station? Their taqwa. Their taqwa, their submission to the Holy Prophet's orders. They submit. What Holy Prophet said to them, they accepted. They took it and they put it on top of their head. They didn't have any doubt. They didn't have question mark. Don't think that the shaitan didn't come to those ones. Shaitan came to test, and they said to shaitan, get lost. Here is Prophet. We trust and we give submission to this one. Finish. What he says, that's what we are going to follow. And that made them to reach to the highest station. They became Sahabi Kiram. Never forget, Imam Rabbani Karasir is saying that this is the tariqat of the Sahabis. We must at least make intention to be on that way. We are very weak. May Allah forgive us. May Allah clean us. May Allah accept us. May Allah grant us the intercession of Habibullah and our Shaykh. May Allah keep us in the mercy of Jamaat and keep us far away from the punishment of separation and loneliness. May Allah give us submission to our guide. May He keep fitna far away from our hearts, far away from our tongues, far away from our ears, and far away from our hands. May He give us more power against our ego and to work for haqq and to do hizmat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise the station of Hazrati Osman al-Ghani. May His shade be upon us. And may we be blessed with His himmat. For the sake of Sahib al-Saif. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. La ilaha illa Allah. La ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lah. Lahul mulk wa hamdu wa shay'un kadir. La ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lah. Lahul mulk wa hamdu. La ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lah. Lahul mulk. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka kuntu minaz zalimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka tunasal. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka. Subhan kudusun abana. Subhan kudusun abana. Inna dina Allah al-Islam. Qala sallallahu.